Hello, everyone. Thanks to Reto and Patrick. Thank you so much for being with us at the inaugural Bloomberg Africa Business Summit. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Lizzy.
I'm not going to make you lie down on the therapy couch as we analyse all the business here in Africa, but it is so good to have you, especially because you just, not so long ago, joined the Public Investment Corporation, and of course you came from the Development Bank of South Africa. So I feel like you have the perfect background to answer a question that I'm sure is on a lot of people's minds in the audience today. And that's, how do you balance making money with doing good?
Oh, good evening. Really, it is something that actually is not that easy when you work for an asset management company. But because of the mix of our clients, it becomes possible. You have the pensioners as beneficiaries from the GPF perspective, but the UIF and the compensation fund, they are much more willing to take much more higher risks because they are looking for impact and they're looking for job opportunities. So it becomes easier, but even GPF, they are able to allocate us what we can be able to invest for bigger impact and also for transformation.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into everything that you're investing in. If we look at the outlook for South Africa at the moment, the market's been on a tear, on track for the biggest gains since 2009. Do you expect that to continue?
We're quite positive about it, and actually on the back of South Africa coming off grey listing and the stability on our national fiscus. So it really gives us a very positive outlook. We saw also S&P upgrading South Africa's outlook, which is very, very, very positive.
A really significant milestone.
And as a result of that, we think we will continue on this trajectory, and our inflation outlook is quite low as well. It's something that we're quite excited about it, but it's just that we need to be much more aggressive on driving the infrastructure as a country.
Okay. What about beyond South Africa? I know about 75% of your assets under management are in listed South African stocks and bonds, but what opportunities are you looking at on the rest of the continent?
There are massive opportunities, both on the industrialization side as well as on infrastructure. The continent is still in huge need for massive infrastructure development. But now that we are talking about AI and technology, it becomes even much more important for us to drive electrification because we know that AI takes a lot of power. And it's important that we can be able to leverage on these microgrids across the continent and also renewable energy, as well as investing on the base load for the continent and also for business as well to thrive, because we need to create jobs for our youth. We need to create jobs for the peoples of the continent.
Well, yeah, something that you and I have talked about a lot is how AI seems to be the perfect opportunity for Africa. If it's powered by young people, and this is a population that's the fastest growing and youngest in the world, and that AI boom is also powered by rare earths, which are not short of here in Africa, isn't this the moment for the continent?
This indeed is the moment for the continent. We really need to be able to live up to it. We have the youth. We just have to prepare our youth properly in terms of education so that they can be able to drive the advent of AI very meaningfully. And also what God has given us and blessed the continent with in terms of rare earth, we really need now to be much more smarter. We can't afford also to miss on the opportunities where now our political principles have got to start driving the right policy to make sure that there is much more beneficiation and there's much more industrialization on the back of these rare earth and strategic minerals. And it is important from our perspective that we really start to aggressively invest on the beneficiation and industrialization on the back of these minerals.
Well, yeah, you've often talked about how private capital is key to unlocking that infrastructure financing gap. How do you do that? What's the PIC doing to unlock that?
We have even allocated the project PrEP, which is the risk capital, if you ask me. But also we are partnering with the DFIs, both in our sister DFIs inside the South Africa, as well as the rest of the continent, and internationally, the multilateral development finance institutions, the likes of the World Bank, African Development Bank, and many other multilateral and national DFIs in Europe in particular, are extremely keen to come and work with us in really unlocking and catalyzing the private sector and private investments into infrastructure on the continent.
And are you talking to sovereign wealth funds about joint ventures outside of South Africa?
We really are looking at partnering much more strongly with sovereign wealth funds because they're looking for opportunities. And we are saying to sovereign wealth funds, come to the continent, we will partner with you. Come to the continent, we will join hands with you. The peoples of the continent want to work with you. So really for us, it is extremely important to attract that capital to come and be able to create impactful opportunities for the peoples of Africa.
Well, I know you're meeting with some of them later this week. Are there any deals in the pipeline you can tell us about?
We have very exciting pipelines. And really, I mean, if we were to look at the electricity infrastructure, which is quite important in the growth of any economy, we have water infrastructure, we have ports infrastructure. And in South Africa, we have seen a lot of structural reforms along these infrastructural types. And now you can see the excitement in the private sector. We now need to make sure that we're able to come up with strategic initiatives and innovative structuring and guarantee schemes to make sure that we can really, really catalyze and incentivize the private sector to come and play a very meaningful role in this. And this is not on a charitable basis. This is on a very beneficial and economic return basis. So it's something that we really want to lead the charge as we want international partners to come and work with us. And really, if we're to look at this platform, the fact that South Africa is hosting the G20 says South Africa, Africa, sit back and listen. There are massive opportunities to be taken advantage of. Let's tell our story much more better than we've ever been able to. This is the moment for the continent.
Yeah, it's a massive opportunity, right? The world's looking at South Africa, but in terms of the world view of investing in South Africa, how much does it matter that President Donald Trump isn't here for the G20?
Yeah, President Trump has his own reasons. President Trump has his own policies that influence his decisions. But I think what is important is the world will move forward with or without the U.S. We respect the decisions of the U.S. They have a right to do what they think is right. We shall partner with the willing partners and make sure that we make the difference that we want to see for the peoples of the continent.
But it's not just President Trump, is it? So you've got the likes of Ford and Glencore and ArcelorMittal all scaling back their plans in South Africa. They cite energy, they cite infrastructure, they cite logistics as problems that they've been facing. How's the PIC helping to address some of those constraints?
We are working with our government to really try and address the challenges. And I think if we were to look in the past 5 years, as South Africa, we've come a very long way. We had massive load shedding as a country, but look at where we are today. Not a single day of load shedding. We had massive challenges on a number of fronts, but we are the first one to admit that, yes, the challenges are here, but we are committed in addressing them. I think you will find South Africa being one of the very few outliers where people can be able to express their views without actually being persecuted for it. And we really want to do better for the peoples of South Africa and the peoples of our continent. We owe it to them. And the good thing is our government says, hold us accountable. And they are keen to listen to us, and they are able actually to put in place initiatives that are necessary. I think these structural reforms, it was because of the massive pressure that was put on them by the business community to say, let's do the right things by these things. And the government actually led the charge and look at where we are. Now we just need to say, can we then step up to the next level so that we can really be able to start seeing fruits? But I think the outlook says we'll begin to see progressive, positive growth for our country and for the peoples of South Africa. And now we need to start saying, how do we integrate the continent more meaningfully? And how do we take advantage of the continental free trade area that actually we're talking about at a very meaningful level? I think what we're also seeing in terms of the global trade dynamics and the geopolitics, it says, Africa, start looking at yourselves. Start looking at opportunities that are presented by yourselves on the continent and start looking to those that want to work with you. Partner with them meaningfully, but don't be over-reliant on the outside. As the continent, we need to come together much more stronger. We need to invest amongst each other much more stronger so that we can be able to future-proof ourselves. I think we owe it to ourselves. We have seen it. It's been demonstrated time and again that we really need to wake up and seize the opportunities that actually are presented within the continent. 1.4 billion people, you can't ask for anything better than that.
I can feel your excitement, Patrick. I wonder, in your new role, given that the PIC is wholly owned by the South African government, how you see the need to influence policymakers. How do you plan to do that?
We are wholly owned by the South African government. It says we have better access than many to government. And we can be able to influence a lot of government policies. We can be able to bring to the attention of our political principles a number of initiatives and a number of policy directions that actually might have to be undertaken. And I think we need to do more of that. And we need to partner with our sister SOEs, so to speak. And we need to partner with our government departments that drive certain policies so that we really can be able to create a much more stronger and attractive investment environment for business.
Another risk for investors is corruption. It's the elephant in the room. And I wonder how you feel about this, because it's an issue that did touch the PIC. There were serious questions about governance at the PIC. In this role, how do you feel it's your responsibility to turn that round?
I think we have a duty and a responsibility to hold ourselves accountable and to allow ourselves to be held accountable. I think it's very important. It's important for the peoples of South Africa. It's important for our clients that we need to be able to be beyond reproach, and governance can never be up for debate or negotiations. We need to be able to live these principles. And for the country, yes, I think, as I said earlier on, we are the first one to admit that we have these challenges, but we are doing something about them. And we really want them to be as minimal as possible so that business can be able to thrive. Rule of law is important for any investment destination. And attractiveness of our country, we can only be can only give optimal benefits to the country if there is very strong rule of law and people will be willing to trust us with their own people to come and work here, looking after their investments, if we make it safe and we decisively deal with corruption as well. I think we owe it to this country, and we owe it to the investors across the globe.
It's a powerful message. Speaking of investors across the globe and that global perspective, I wonder, when you look across to Asia, Vietnam, for example, was once considered a high-risk frontier. It's now a manufacturing hub. Are there lessons that you draw from Asia for Africa?
We have a lot of lessons to learn from Asia. And really, Asia has produced a lot of tigers, so-called tigers. And as the continent, it says you can never lose hope. We can look at these guys as the inspiration to say, Africa, you can achieve, you can do what they've been able to do as well. And most of these countries are now sitting as near developed nations. But they come from very, very, very low past and very minimal investments. And sometimes even the skill set was not where it was supposed to be. But they looked in themselves, they partnered with themselves, and they drove very, very, very hard bargains, even in terms of international deals. And they were able to invest in their own people. They invited international investments and capital and skill sets to teach their own. They invested in education. You can't touch those guys when it comes to education. So these are the kinds of things that we also need to see, that it is quite possible and it is quite doable. We can do it, but we need to take ownership. And I think the principle of, if it is to be, it is up to me, I think this is what it is. We have to take ownership and lead by example and make sure that our future in the form of our youth are well capacitated and well prepared to play a very meaningful role and economically viable role in the future of this country. Otherwise, when you go on pension, who's going to carry us? I think that's what the challenge is. So our youth has got to have a purpose to go to education, capacitate themselves much more. But as business community, we need to bend over backwards to accommodate our youth. We really, there can never be a future without a well-prepared and well-capacitated youth.
And as you were saying, they're really the market for AI, right? They're the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Okay, so they're the lessons from Asia. What's the lesson that the rest of the continent, and indeed perhaps the world, should be taking from South Africa?
I think it's very, very interesting. I think South Africa, we are a democratic country. Really, we are the country that says we can be able to look at the mirror and see what is not good about us and work at it. And I know that it is still early days, but if we're to look at the trajectory and the trend of the policy direction that we're taking as a country, it says all is not lost. Very soon we will start seeing the benefits and the dividends of this introspection and these initiatives that we're taking to make sure that we better prepare ourselves and we better create the right environment for our businesses. The logistics is extremely important, and we are working on it, and you can see now the appetite of the private sector to get into this space and to make sure that they become part of it, and they're able actually to make sure that we facilitate international trade much more efficiently. But investment into technology is extremely important. That is one area that we're looking at. So the infrastructure, including the ICT infrastructure, because AI is going to be the next electricity of the global economy. So it is important that we pull all stops to make it happen for the peoples of Africa and for the peoples of South Africa. I think you will one day look back with a sense of pride and say, the hosting of the G20 in South Africa was never in vain. This is the moment for Africa. This is the moment for South Africa. It is the moment for our youth. They can never lose hope, but we shall lead by example.
Well, it's certainly an exciting moment to have our first Bloomberg Africa Business Summit. Patrick, we're very grateful for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liz.